Hey guys, I'm Jared, and today we're talking about what's new in board gaming as of March 17th, 2023. I'll be covering the latest news, announcements, most played games, hot new Kickstarters and crowdfunded games, and more related to board gaming for the past 2 weeks. At the end, I'll also be sharing what's going on behind the scenes with my YouTube channel, Meeple Mentor. So, stick around, we've got a lot to cover. Leave me a like and comment on what kinds of updates that you want to hear more about. To make sure that you don't miss my news updates, new video tutorials, and our podcast episodes, be sure to subscribe on YouTube and your preferred streaming platform. Let's get started with some crowdfunding. In Whelps to Worms, players act as recently hatched dragon whelps, spend the game exploring and raising the land, trying to acquire the largest treasure hoard. This resource management and strategy game is for 2 to 5 players ages 8 and up and plays in 75 minutes. You can back it on GameFound until April 6th. The Hunt is a tense and exciting naval duel where you will have to use your wits to defeat your opponent. The 2-player history and war game incorporates cards and deduction. The British lead player must hunt down the German, who his own task is to hide from the British and sink 5 of their freight ships. Players ages 12 and up can enjoy a 20 to 45 minute experience, and it's funding on GameFound until April 4th. Just launched on GameFound is a 5-game pledge from various legendary designers: Phil Walker Harding, Mike Fitzgerald, Alf Siegert, and Sid Saxon. They're each putting up some new games being published by Eagle Griffin Games, which you can back now to get a hold of. Check it out within 2 weeks. Now for a look at Kickstarters. What's That One is an oddly worded trivia game. Do you ever get stuck in the thought process and no matter how hard you think, you cannot eloquently describe the memory you're trying to conjure? Dynamic Gorilla has made an entire game out of that. Identify shows, characters, movies, bands, and more based on ridiculous, silly, or just poor descriptions. With different categories, this party game promises to be raucous at the table. You can back it until April 5th. Purim is a 1 to 4 player cooperative card management and area control game about the spread of the news of the liberation of the Jewish people throughout ancient Persia. Vie against Haman's 10 sons who are trying to spread false messages, orchestrating the destruction of the Jewish people. Seal the victory by having your good messages overpower the false messages spread in each province on the board. It's for players ages 14 and up and plays in 45 to 60 minutes. It's funding on Kickstarter until March 31st. Are you looking for a strategic card game in which players may embrace the forces of alchemy to summon creatures? How about further facing challenges on the battlefield? Soul of Ankril sees 2 to 4 players selecting their leaders and battling it out on the table, with each player board facing each other. Tile placement and resource management are key factors. There are special rules included in one of the pledge levels for the 3 or 4 player count. Ages 10 and up can enjoy 30 to 45 minute sessions, and you can back it on Kickstarter until March 24th. Up next, dive into the darkness of a dungeon to slay a powerful demon in Hellbringer, a unique solo co-op card-based perception and hero-building game. You will have to equip your hero, learn skills, and fight with increasingly necessary perception against the enemies that surround you. Defeat the mighty demon before it defeats you in this 1 to 4 player immersion for ages 12 and up. Playtime is around 45 minutes per person, and it's funding on Kickstarter until March 21st. Almost Words is a lighthearted, witty party game that can be enjoyed by people of all ages, gamers and non-gamers alike. Funding on Kickstarter until April 4th. In Almost Words, spelling and grammar don't matter. Reveal a topic and use the special letter tiles to turn them whatever way you like, creating words. You are then judged on the words and how well you connected them to the original topic. A new edition of the pulp horror board game Ancient Terrible Things is on Kickstarter until March 16th. Ancient Terrible Things Reawakened is a tactical and evocative dice-chucking experience that lasts around 20 to 30 minutes per player. Featuring new game mechanics added to the original and updated art, it's for 1 to 4 players ages 13 and up. For all you Euro game lovers out there, An Age Contrived is a 1 to 5 player game of engine building and fantasy gods. Contribute to completion of a monument being built by your followers, then reap benefits from it, program your device with energy, and unite the mortal realm to lead the pantheon into a new age. It's for ages 14 and up and plays in 90 to 120 minutes. It's funding on Kickstarter until March 23rd. Next up, it's Wall or Be Walled, an exit strategy, a family maze building board game. 2 to 6 players race to the exits, either placing their meeple or putting down a wall on their turn. Plot your route to victory while sabotaging your friends and vaulting over your enemies, taking care all the while to ensure the walls you put down do not block your own path. Exit strategy is for players ages 8 and up and plays in about 20 minutes. You can back it on Kickstarter until March 24th. Flicker's Rejoice Quickfire is a simultaneous play game where 2 or 4 players fire your ammo cubes at targets to get them into your opponent's scoring tray. 9 target cubes in the opponent's tray wins the game. It's funding on Kickstarter until March 24th. Ebb and Flow is a quick and silly 2-player game of strategy. Use the minions under your command to march them across the board, hoping for victory, but perhaps something else lies in store for them. It's a race to your opponent's base, only using 5 of 7 in-hand action cards before they must be shuffled and your hand is redrawn. It's for all ages, and you can back it on Kickstarter until April 5th. If your gaming group is looking for a cooperative board game about slaying monsters, slinging spells, and surviving magical corruption, turn your attention to Encounters Shattered Wastes. With team-focused tactical gameplay, fast-paced 60-minute fantasy battles, and a retro JRPG aesthetic, it promises great replayability. It's for 1 to 4 players ages 13 and up and funds until March 24th. Imagine yourself as a daring spy thrust into a high-stakes game of intrigue and deception. You sit in a room filled with players, all of their identities unknown to you. Who can you trust? Who is your ally and who is your enemy? In Revolt, the card game, players use card management to uncover information and protect their allies, bring fallen players back to life, rescue friends from the fringe of death, and thwart your opponent's nefarious plots. Flip your team cards to reveal their side. The winner is one who eliminated the other team and kept all the correct allies. It's for 4 to 8 players, with games ranging between 10 and 45 minutes. You can back it on Kickstarter until April 8th. Cake of Doom is a light-hearted card game where aliens compete to take over Earth using cake-based bribery and sabotage. Would you be immune? As an alien who has just invaded Earth, you discover the one thing every part of the entire world wants: cake. As you preheat the oven and begin to bake, you're alerted that other aliens are incoming. Now you must scurry to become out on top as the ruler of Earth. It's suitable for 3 to 6 players ages 8 and up and plays in 15 to 30 minutes. It's funding on Kickstarter until March 31st. Dice and cards rule the table in Agrego. The struggle for good and evil is about to begin in this fantasy board game about possession. Players take on the role of supernatural entities fighting for control of a medieval village. Possess the villagers with your skill and cunning in order to seize power. This game is for 3 to 6 players ages 8 and up and plays in 30 to 90 minutes. Look for it on Kickstarter until April 9th. Cold weather got you stuck indoors? Play disc golf on your tabletop. Birdie Pro, the best-selling disc golf board game, gets even better with their expansion Fox Run, listed only as Birdie Pro on Kickstarter until April 9th. Build your player, use your skills wisely, and dish out karma for the win. Birdie Pro Fox Run is intended for 1 to 4 players ages 14 and up and has an estimated playtime of 90 minutes. What if the moon could save mankind? That is the question From the Moon ponders. As a newly formed faction, employ worker placement and participate in the preparation and launch of 3 missions to save humanity. Recruit astronauts to man these all-important missions and save mankind from the verge of collapse. From the Moon is for 1 to 4 players ages 14 and up and plays in 30 minutes per player. It's funding on Kickstarter until March 23rd. Yanaro's Fallen is a strategic board game of intense magical battles and exploration. Roam the land, increase your power, and battle for supremacy to become the most experienced shaman. Lead your followers and increase your dark power while you roam the land, attempting to restore harmony to the corrupted land of shadows in this worker placement and area control Eurogame. Yanaro's Falling is an hour-long adventure for 1 to 4 players ages 12 and up. You can find it on Kickstarter until March 31st. Play in certain frames of mind, compassion, peace, joy, and understanding in the new game funding on Kickstarter until April 7th. Mandala Mind, the card game, is mindfulness-themed game that is a puzzly and cooperative experience. 1 or 2 players can enjoy a 20 to 30 minute session as a person in one of the aforementioned frames of mind who is distracted. The object is to help the person focus by removing all distractions from every mandala in the meditation phase. Allied nations of the US and Great Britain square off against the Axis nations of Germany and Italy for control of North America in Song for War Mediterranean theater. Team up as Allied or Axis nations to rewrite the pages of World War II history, capture objectives, trigger events, resupply forward positions, and upgrade units as you battle across land, sea, and air. It's for 2 to 4 players ages 14 and up, plays to 1 to 7 hours depending on your chosen war scenario. You can back it until March 30th. Fans of Saria can look forward to Claw of Saria, the epic expansion for the board game. The new expansion adds a co-op mode, new dinosaurs, new characters, a new hybrid dinosaur, and more. It's for 1 to 5 players ages 14 and up, and has a playtime of around 45 to 190 minutes. It's funding on Kickstarter until March 23rd. Double Trouble, the memory card game, is just what it says, a memory card game where you must make matches. The difference is, it's your choice whether you want to try to match creatures or backgrounds. Backgrounds being the more difficult. The winning player is the one who holds the most cards at the end. This game is funding on Kickstarter until April 2nd. How does a life-sized fantasy dungeon crawler sound? Well, the Quest Kids Giant Adventure sees players using giant dungeon tiles to create a playable adventure at home, school, on the playground, anywhere there's space. Players act as the game pieces as they explore to find treasure, scare away villains, and discover magical items. The player with the most stars at the end of the quest wins. Quest Kids is for 2 to 4 players in teams and plays in 30 minutes. You can find it on Kickstarter until March 23rd. Players get ready, it's serve or be served in Dire Dinner. It's a cooperative tile-laying game where you either make dinner or become it. In Dire Dinner, players take on the roles of 4 misfit minions, each with their own special abilities, who have to work together to prepare a 6-course feast for Girth. Players do this by placing matching ingredients on plates. Dire Dinner is intended for 1 to 4 players ages 8 and up and plays in 45 minutes. It's funding on Kickstarter until March 23rd. From the team that brought you Point Salad, Calico, and Cascadia comes Point City and Deep Dive. Point City is a game that captures the essence of engine building and resource management in a small box. It's for 1 to 4 players. Deep Dive is Push Your Luck set collection for 1 to 6 players. Use your waddle of penguins to dive deep into the ocean to amass the most bountiful collection of food. These games are funding on Kickstarter until April 15th. Next on Kickstarter, Sydney's Quest is entirely focused around beating your friends to the most laid-back job in town, being the village elder. Players can impress Sydney and snag the job by earning job experience, gaining new knowledge, starting a business, and more. Resource management, worker placement, and goal cards are the working mechanics in the game. Sydney's Quest is available to back until April 9th. Thrown Under the Bus is a lighthearted board game of office politics for 2 to 6 players. The goal is to select the next senior VP, which takes around 30 to 60 minutes. The game keeps players entertained with cringe-worthy buzzwords and all too familiar office tropes, while they steal credit for coworkers' hard work in an attempt to advance up the corporate ladder. It's intended for ages 14 and up, and you can find it on Kickstarter until April 13th. Townsfolk Tussle, the co-op boss battler set in the chaotic cartoon town of Eureka Springs, is back with 2 expansions, Foul Neighbors and Odd Jobs. The Foul Neighbors expansion brings more ruffians, townsfolk, and terrain, and more complexity to the base game. Odd Jobs adds gear synergies and strategies. You can unlock lots of gear across several sessions and complete sets to gain powerful abilities. This game and its expansions are for 2 to 5 players ages 14 and up, and sessions play in about 40 minutes per player. It's funding on Kickstarter until April 6th. 2 to 4 players of ages 12 and up can enjoy Lore, the board game, funding on Kickstarter until March 30th. Lore is a thematic game of action selection, card play, dice rolling, and character building. Games last around an hour. Beverage is an economic worker placement game with a bit of push your luck and a lot of cutthroat strategy. Your goal is to read the market, get your company started, and fund a new stadium with your profits. Just be sure to do it faster than your rivals. Beverage is intended for 3 to 5 players ages 12 and up and plays in 90 minutes. You can find it on Kickstarter until April 9th. Reflections in the Looking Glass, a Wonderland card game, is a bit of a drafting game, but you may only draft from cards that are face up. Those cards have a linking card that your opponent then takes. The winner of a round is the person that has the greatest absolute score. Reflections in the Looking Glass is intended for 2 players, ages 8 and up, and plays in 20 minutes. It's funding on Kickstarter until April 28th. On Kickstarter is a new card game for all ages called Little Guys, where you compete to throw the best party for a bunch of little guys, i.e. cartoony characters. Buy items to boost your score, gain shy guys no one wants, or just collect as many little guys as you can. It's an I-cut-you-choose game using cards, and you have a month to back it. Another new card game called Ichabod Jones Monster Hunter is funding too, for 3 to 8 players. It's a fast-paced, semi-cooperative, tactical card game based on the comic book series. It includes a solo mode and a 2-player special mode. Getting into the industry news, Jasco Games and Asmodee USA have ended their exclusive distribution deal. The agreement between the two was originally reached in 2021, but ended after the launch of My Hero Academia CCG League of Villains, which arrived on March 3rd. Jasco plans to continue working with Asmodee, but plans to add other distributors throughout the US and Canada. As of March 2nd, players have been able to access and play a version of the classic board game Cluedo, known as Clue in the US. This is being achieved through their official Instagram page, and plans are to have players participate daily throughout this month. The online event is a celebration of the release of the new edition of Cluedo. Players can get the new version of Cluedo now. Former VP of Asmodee, Andre Kieran, has joined with Chris Woodward to launch the new Golden Goose Games consultancy, who have already formed a partnership with Bellows Intent. The distribution plan for Bellows Intent Studio is to bring the company's inaugural game, An Age Contrived, into North America. The Financial Times Statista FT1000 have named Irish tabletop role-playing game publisher Cubicle 7 as one of Europe's fastest-growing companies. Cubicle 7 placed at number 192 on a chart which compares companies based on annual growth rate between 2018 and 2021. Cubicle 7's compound rate was 107.3%. TCG Player Authentication Center workers voted to unionize with the Communication Workers of America. The election was won by 60% of the 223 workers voting in favor of the union. TCG Player is a subsidiary of eBay, and their union is one of the largest of several affiliated with the CWA, including retailer Noble Knight Games. IDW Publishing lost $335,000 in its fiscal Q1 ending January 31st, compared to a $512,000 operating profit from a year ago. The publishing division faced a sales decline of $954,000 compared to the year-ago quarter, with the biggest factors the shutdown of the games division and a decline in direct market sales. On the positive side of the sales ledger, book channel sales were up $734,000, driven by strong sales of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Last Ronin, and retailer-exclusive revenue of $551,000 tied to Sonic the Hedgehog. IDW Publishing is moving to a Shopify-based store in 2 phases, with the migration from its current system planned for May 1st, and a second phase with more fan interaction features also planned. Now let's look at newly announced games and expansions coming to retail. Valbara sees players set out with their tribes to explore uncharted lands of the Neolithic world, using the talents of their tribe members to expand territory, enforce their hegemony, and optimize their tribe's development. The game ends after 9 rounds, with the victor being the player with the most points. It's intended for 2 to 5 players ages 10 and up, and plays in 20 minutes. The classic robot racing board game Robo Rally is back. Renegade Game Studios will release a new edition into retail in August of this year. The new edition features 6 pre-painted robot miniatures, over 80 different race courses, and includes solo options plus much more. Robo Rally is for 2 to 6 players ages 12 and up, and plays in 45 to 60 minutes. In other Renegade news, they plan to release an updated version of Junk Orbit in July this year. It's a delivery game where players must sell space junk for profit. The updated version includes new storage features and 2 mini expansions. It's for 1 to 5 players ages 10 and up, and plays in 30 to 40 minutes. Renegade has also announced a new edition of the classic game of international intrigue and treachery, Diplomacy, which will hit stores in August. The game is for 2 to 7 players ages 12 and up, and plays in 4 hours. Another announcement from Renegade is the new version of Acquire, set to hit retail in August. The game is for 2 to 6 players ages 12 and up, and plays in 90 minutes. Assume the role of a driver roaring around a futuristic track in Rim Racers by Corvus Belli. The goal is to avoid attacks from your rivals and stay in the lead. The game is for 2 to 5 players with no further details at this time. Sea of Thieves is a pirate action-adventure game which was a hit for PC and Xbox alike. Steamforged Games has announced a board game version. Very few details surrounding the game have been released. Cartagena is a pirate jailbreak board game based on the real-life jailbreak of a gang of pirates from the prison fortress of Cartagena, and it is back with a new version. Cartagena Escape Diaries takes the original release from 2000 and updates it for our modern era, the main difference being the art style. It's set to release in the fall of 2023. Awakened Realms has announced Nemesis Retaliation will be the latest entry in the franchise of this horror board game. The game will feature a sort of traitor gameplay mechanic, but little else is known other than its ability to support 1 to 5 players. Players work together as a production team at Walt Disney Animation and Disney Animated, a new cooperative board game announced by Funko, which will arrive mid-2023. This game explores the history of the studios and offers quality components. It's intended for 2 to 4 players ages 10 and up and plays in 20 minutes. Funko Games has announced 3 more Disney-themed games set to release this spring. The Disney Villains Sinister Spoons game, Disney Pixar's Cars Launch and Race game, and Something Wild Disney Mickey Mouse card game, Steamboat Willie. Disney Villains Sinister Spoons game has players racing to grab custom spoons that feature iconic Disney villains, intended for 4 to 8 players ages 7 and up, and plays in about 20 minutes. In Disney Pixar's Cars Launch and Race game, players compete to complete 4 laps of the Radiator Springs racetrack, designed for 2 players or teams ages 3 and up. It takes about 15 minutes to play. In Something Wild Disney Mickey Mouse card game, Steamboat Willie, players try to collect cards depicting characters from the animated film to create sets and runs and use power cards for special actions, for ages 2 to 4, ages 6 and up. Jasco Games has updated details on their upcoming My Hero Academia CCG. April will see the release of Series 4 deck loadable content Chibi Mania, which will feature MHA character cards with chibi artwork. In May, the My Hero Academia Class Reunion box set will be available on store shelves, featuring promos, collectible sleeves, speed dice, and more. A card game based on Q Lea's kawaii anime series about Bananya, a banana cat and his friends, has been unveiled by Japanime Games. Bananya, the card game, has been announced, along with 4 expansions, which are currently on pre-order. Players will draw cards, resolve effects, and attempt to force their opponents out of their way to collect 10 matching Bananyas. In Waffle Time, players try to load up their morning waffles with a combination of whipped cream and fruit toppings to quell their hunger. This tile drafting game is for 1 to 4 players ages 10 and up and plays in 30 minutes. It will be released by Alderac on August 18th. Brotherwise Games unveiled Overboss Duel, the next game in the Boss Monsters series of games, for release into retail on September 20th. Overboss Duel is a 2-player version of Overboss. In this version, players engage in a head-to-head battle in an effort to dominate the overworld. This game is for 2 players ages 8 and up and plays in 20 to 30 minutes. Catan Soccer Fever is an upcoming board game expansion themed around the game of Catan. The new expansion will see players engaging in a series of soccer matches taking place across the island. The expansion is set to publish sometime this year. Fantasy Flight Games revealed the Circle Undone Investigator expansion and the Circle Undone Campaign expansion, the next 2 repackaged expansions for Arkham Horror the card game, which will release on July 7th. These 2 expansions reprint the 4th cycle of content for Arkham Horror card game. Command will launch Zombicide White Death, a new game for the Zombicide fantasy line, into Kickstarter soon. Zombicide White Death focuses on a faraway land within their fantasy realm where humanoid animal hybrid species exist. They are, of course, looking to survive an onslaught of zombie walkers by defending their medieval ramparts from an invasion. No word on a release date yet. Another Zombicide announcement: Command will release Zombicide's 2nd edition Rio Z Janeiro, a new expansion into retail April 4th. Rio Z Janeiro is a new campaign set during Carnival, or Carnaval, the Brazilian holiday. The expansion supports 1 to 6 players ages 14 and up and plays in 60 minutes. Exploding Kittens has announced the release of Block Block Burrito, a new expansion pack for Throw Throw Burrito or Throw Throw Avocado. The first Throw Throw expansion adds a new defense mechanic to the mix, the inflatable tortilla shields. It also adds more battle formats for players to launch burritos at each other in. The expansion is for 2 to 6 players ages 7 and up and plays in 15 minutes. Asmodee will release Azul Mini, a compact edition of the classic tile placement game, into retail April 21st. This new mini-sized version of Azul allows players the ability to play the game on the go. This game is for 2 to 4 players ages 8 and up and plays in 45 minutes. Atomic Mass Games will release Squirrel Girl and Gwenpool, a new character pack for Marvel Crisis Protocol, into stores May 12th. Break the fourth wall with this popular duo of Marvel characters. Doreen Green, a hero with a tail and the ability to have squirrels to do her bidding, steps to battle villains when the Avengers can't be relied upon. She's partnered with the always entertaining and rarely humble Gwenpool. Osprey Games has announced General Orders World War II, a worker placement style war game by David Thompson and Trevor Benjamin, the creators of the Undaunted series. General Orders World War II puts players in command of battlefield forces from the Axis or Allied powers in 2 very different battlefields, the Italian Mountains and Pacific Islands. The game is intended for 2 players ages 14 and up and plays in about 40 minutes. Let's talk for a bit about what's happening on the Meeple Mentor YouTube channel. First, did you know we have a Patreon page? It's available for fans of the podcast and channel to pledge as a Patreon and support us here. There's various pledge levels for small monthly support that helps grow the channel's content. You can get access to new content early, you'll get to vote on new game tutorials that come out on the channel, and more. Head to Patreon at patreon.com/MeepleMentor. The last tutorial video on the channel that I released was for Obsession by Dan Halligan. He even commented on my post on BGG about it, noting that I've made the only video out there that covers variants and the solo mode. It's a great game. I also published 2 new unboxing videos, one for Walkie Talkie and one for Happy Little Dinosaurs. Holly was so excited about Happy Little Dinosaurs, she did the unboxing for that one. You'll start to see her more on the channel, from unboxings and reviews to, of course, writing the news videos. Our latest review on the channel was for the game Bites from All Play, formerly known as BoardGameTables.com. It's about ants collecting food as they return to their anthill. My last recommendation video released to the Off the Shelf series and was for Wingspan. If you're new to board gaming or somehow missed the hype, definitely do yourself a favor and play Wingspan. Watch the video to see why. Thanks for tuning in to today's news update. I appreciate your support, and remember, teach when you can, but always be learning. See you next time.